There are a couple of different categories of GPUs. You've got low-end, mid-range, and high-end. This video, I'm going to be focusing on high-end GPUs. I tend to buy in the high-end space myself, and that's what I'm going to be focusing on. Now, I may do this video on low-end stuff. I think that it's probably a different story there. I don't necessarily think that those ones are overpriced as well, but I can speak more for higher end hardware than I can for low end hardware at this point. So until I do a little bit of research on that, I don't want to stick my neck out. But I believe that when you're talking about the top end GPU products, particularly from NVIDIA, I do not believe they're overpriced. And what we're going to look at is, at least primarily, not only, but we're going to look primarily at inflation data, because I believe inflation answers the substantial amount of price increase. We're going to be looking at everybody talks about why can't we go back to Pascal? 1080 Ti was amazing. It was an amazing value, blah, 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 blah. Okay, that's what we're going to look at. The price differences are even bigger if you go further back. If you go to, say, GTX 680, 780, that kind of thing. But we're gonna be comparing to Pascal, just because I think that a lot of the viewers out there, that's where kind of this whole thing started. To a lot of you weren't around when some of the other stuff were around, and that's just kind of the arbitrary place people say we want to go back to. So let's take a look. We're going to be comparing so here's another thing to keep in mind. A lot of people want to compare at least from what I've seen, want to compare the RTX 4090 to the GTX 1080 Ti. That is not the comparison that we're going to be making. We're going to be comparing the RTX 4090 to the Titan, the GeForce Titan. So let's go take a look and see what the numbers are and see how close that gets us to the price difference between the stuff from the past and the stuff for today. And then we'll come back and I'll have some closing thoughts. So let's get to it. We're starting looking at the Tech Power Up, which I have found Tech Power Up to be basically the best reference I can get for info on, what do you call it, older cards. And so let's take a look. So this card was released, and this is the Titan XP. It was also offered the same GPU as the Titan XP Star Wars Edition. So you're looking at a release date of April 6th, 2017. Launch price was $1199. Now, it is true that the Titan XP was a victim of the first mining craze, but it wasn't as bad as, say, the GTX 1080 Ti. The Titan, from what I saw a marginal increase, a couple $100 is a lot, but it wasn't as bad as some of the other cards. So $1199, and then let's look at the 4090. So we'll look at the 4090, September 20th, 2022, and at $1599. And again, these were affected by scalping. However, there were various periods of time that you could buy these at MSRP. There was a period of about a year that you could get these at MSRP. So we're not gonna say, oh well, scalping. There was too long that you could get these at MSRP. So what we're gonna look at here is the government inflation calculator. Now these are not going to be perfect, okay? And it kind of depends on you having some faith that the info here is right. But so looking at $1199, and this is the .gov one, by the way. So this isn't, I found a few, some of them were at random companies. This is the one that I found that was actually government affiliated. So this is the one we're going to go on. So looking at $1199 in 2017, I put November 2024 because they don't have data for December yet. You're almost dead even. You're within $50 freaking dollars, people. $50. I didn't even expect it to be this close. Like, how are people running around talking about, well, why can't we just go back to Pascal? We're bloody at Pascal. We're already there. Except what this card can do in today's world compared to what the Titan XP could do in its world, this card does so much more. Not just in how much faster it is compared to the old card, but it fundamentally does more. So I really, and this doesn't even factor in increased complexity of the product, because it's a substantially more complex product. Like, I'm not carrying water for NVIDIA here, guys. The numbers are the bloody numbers. Like, I don't know what to do to help you if you just want to see evil big green. If you just want to see NVIDIA as evil big green and that's what you want to see, I can't help you. But we're looking at the actual numbers here. So this does not account for the larger, more complicated coolers, the more complicated cards, the fact that there is additional strain on the market because there are more things that GPUs are being used for today than there were in 2017. This basically only accounts for inflation, and that alone explains this. So I don't know. So let's go back, and I'll give a few closing thoughts, and you guys can tell me what you think. Obviously, what everybody wants to hear is that it's evil big green. We can't afford GPUs. GPUs are overpriced because of evil big green. And I think, at least on the surface, I just showed that at least in the high-end space, that's not true. Now, it is true, so based on what we just looked at, it is true that the pricing on the GPUs, on a top-end GPU, has not gone down. Now, I don't think it's fair to expect that the price on inflation adjusted for the 4090 to be lower than the cost of a Titan XP. And the reason for that is because the 4090, I think, is a higher-end product for its day today. Even though it's called a 4090 and not a Titan, I think there's some disconnect there. I do think that the 4090 is a higher-end product in today's market than the Titan XP was in the market of its day. And you can agree with that, disagree with that, but the numbers don't seem to lie. Now, it is also true that so the cost of the cards has basically remained fairly consistent. But what that also means is that if you've seen your real world actual real world take home pay stay the same approximately, factoring in inflation, and your pay has not gone up in conjunction with that, so that means everything's now more expensive. It would feel like the cards are too expensive, right? So it would feel like the parts are more expensive because you have less disposable income. But I think this is more about that than anything. But even that, I mean, the inflation wasn't that bad, back in, I don't know, 2018, 2019, that kind of thing. So, and people were complaining about video card prices then. People were complaining about the 3080. So, well, no, I guess that's not true. When the 3080 was originally announced at, what was it, $699, people were excited. That is true. Okay, I'm wrong on that. But the other thing I think that's worth considering is that in the past, we've also had some very expensive video cards. Look up the NVIDIA GeForce Titan Z, which I believe was, I never quite nailed this one down, but it's similar to the 690. The 690 is, I believe I was able to confirm, 2 680 dies or GPUs on one, on one board. I believe the Titan Z was 2 of the generation's Titan cards on one board. So the Titan Black, I believe the Titan Z was 2 Titan Blacks on one board. And today that would be, if I'm right, today that would be the equivalent of 2 4090s on one board. And just think, that Titan Z back in the day was 3 slots. It was 3 slots. The larger versions, more average even versions of the 4090 are around 4 slots, 3.5 to 4.5, depending on the model. Imagine it would be like, it'd be a card that's like this thick. It'd be like a 5-slot thickness card, and it would have 2 of the 12 pins or something like that. Or if they had stuck with 8 pin, it would have like 5 or 6 8 pins or something ridiculous. So just try to remember, this stuff isn't in a vacuum, okay? Cards have been more expensive than they are today. They have also been cheaper than they are today. Like I said, I don't know if I just said, so the Titan Z was $3,000. It was $3,000 in, I think, 2013 dollars. I don't even want to plug that into the dang calculator. That's probably like $5,000 or something today. So I'm really disillusioned with all of these big channels constantly saying, oh, this is a bad value, that's a bad value, it's expensive, it's too expensive. I disagree. And no matter what you put in the comments, because I'm gonna get some hate from people that think I'm carrying water for NVIDIA, I don't care what you put in the comments. I am going to go to my death on this one. Okay, I'm going to stick to this one. The data seems to agree with me from what I can tell. So I'm going to hold solid on this one. Anyway, I hope you guys find this interesting, and thanks for watching the video.